Hello, everyone, and welcome to tonight's episode of Beyond Forgotten Realms here on the MindTour Gaming stream. It's been a couple weeks as we've taken a little pause, a little break for some real life things, but we're back at it. I'm assuming some of us will need a refresher, so we can go around, talk about certain things for your character, what may be going on in their mindsets, and what is their thoughts on the events that had just transpired and what's transpiring before them. But as of right now, a group of adventurers have dealt with some of the cults of the dragon here at the Battle Rise ruins, where they found some sort of strange ritual that they were creating, possibly a dragon, some kind of spawn from the blood of a dragon, a white dragon that they were bleeding into the cauldron. The group dispatched the threat that was there. Did not find Caleb, but did find a number of magic items, different spell components, as well as hints and clues to possibly what's going on there. Even new lizardmen friends, but unfortunately one of their own fell in the battle that happened there, inside of the Battle Rise ruins, below, within the lair of these dragon cultists. A new friend was found, bound and chained inside of the prison beneath the earth there. Keth, now joining the group to try to get vengeance against what they've done to him, as well as what they have done to Corvin. They lay Corvin to rest and try to decide what to do next. So we'll start with Kaz. Is there anything in particular you'd like to share about what's going on, your character's thoughts, or anything for the future?
Kaz is clearly very distraught, stuck in a mental cycle of this isn't real, this can't be happening, and circulating into anger and the need for vengeance, but the understanding that he's got to go about it the right way. WWKD, what would Corvin do?
Cut him in half and then ask questions.
Murder, yeah.
Pretty much. Pretty much. He's normally not about the senseless vengeance and violence, but in this sense, it seems fitting and the best way to honor his memory.
And the reason behind it, obviously, is okay.
Yeah.
Belkin, any thoughts on Belkin's side of things and what's going on?
He's still mourning. But the way he sees it, it's just a roll of the dice, and he got lucky, and Corbin didn't.
Yep.
Pretty much. He's happy that he was able to get Keth out of that cage. He didn't like how he went so confined and stuff.
So is freedom important for Belkin?
Yeah, definitely. For sure.
Alokian?
So Alokian's kind of the opposite of Kaz, in the sense that He kind of wants senseless killing right now. He's kind of just really mad.
He's mad.
He's definitely more on the revenge side of things, but I think it's fueled by something different. It's not necessarily fueled by just the loss of a friend. It's also fueled by his anger and disappointment with himself. So his inability to save his friend, the one task he thought he was meant to do for his whole life, was to protect and heal and save and end suffering. He always took that as, making sure that people were happy and alive and well. And so with losing his friend in his hands right there, and almost losing other friends, and basically being the last one up in that ordeal, he feels like a real failure, which sent him into his own kind of like questioning his faith, questioning his purpose. And so now you have a situation where he's rethinking his perception and kind of his translation of end suffering, or make sure suffering doesn't happen. And he's kind of leaning towards a more darker translation of that. So we'll have to see how his mind evolves and how he progresses. But he was very cautious about Keth, but he just wanted to make sure, like, if he's in on taking out baddies, then he's more than welcome to come.
Awesome. Where's Keth sit with all this? Obviously, just got rescued by these strange individuals. Keth. One other note that I didn't mention last game was Keth would have noticed two individuals, a kobold as well as a black hooded figure, the blackish draconic mask, fleeing through the stables there, taking horses and leaving. But where does Keth sit with all this? Obviously, he saw what had happened to Orvin, saw and actually became part of the ritual of putting him into the dirt, but sit with all this.
Keth doesn't really know what his purpose is necessarily. And so he's kind of trying to find that, and he feels like maybe this is it. Like maybe he's supposed to help these people. I think that's because he was kind of with a caravan when the kobolds attacked him last. He was kind of latching onto them, like maybe this is my purpose, and it now he feels like it wasn't because they're all dead. So
almost
he's
like
okay.
searching for that omen of what is okay to guide him.
Yeah. So yeah, he doesn't really know. He doesn't know what his next steps are. So he's just any hook in the water he'll latch onto generally. So.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and, if there's not anything else, we'll go ahead and set the stage and go from there. The sound of crackling fire just echoing around the group of you as you take your dinner, or not, after burying. You know, there's a few hours before the sun rises. You all get a meal in as Zan does boil some water, coffee, as he's also prepared to do whatever it takes to avenge Corvin. everything that had happened so far is weighing heavily on him. You can see it. It's as if a dark cloud is pushing down upon him. But he tries to hold it together. He still seems a bit sick. He does drink a little coffee and tries to eat a bit, but you can see at times he even fights to keep it down. Around you is the ruins of Battle Rise, as this is where you currently have your camp. The horses are nearby, tied up, but most of Battle Rise is fairly quiet beyond any sounds the group of you make. Shifting of armor, sharpening a blade, just focused on what to do next. Zan looks up at the view. Do we hunt then?
I'll look over at Alokian, back at Zan. Yes. We hunt every last one of them.
Kaz, go ahead and make a history check.
Okay. $22.
Okay. In your learning with the group that you've worked with and in the underground, you've heard of the Cult of the Dragon before, but specifically, you know, they have connections around Faerun as well, much like your own faction. They work within the underground as best as possible. Much of what they try to do is, well, many of the leaders try to create undead dragons of sorts. Rumored maybe possibly undead liches or dragon liches, Draco liches in particular. But also further the cause of Tiamat, which is their worship and their goddess. So you know they have connections all around Faerun. Now, whether or not this was a small piece of a branch of this bigger picture or tree that this group works through, you're not sure. But you also know that usually there's a dragon that manages each sort of sect of the Cult of the Dragon. Some old, some new, young, just depending on the strength and the power that sect has. But particularly, this group seemed like they were trying to do some sort of weird dragon spawning or experiment. But that's not unheard of from this cult, as far as experimenting with things to try to further dragonkind.
All right. It is likely that there is a dragon of sort following Tiamat that is overseeing the works of these fools. I am of the mind to find this dragon, gut it, and leave pieces of it hanging near every city. I am certain they fear no one. Before long, My only goal is that they fear my name. I'll gesture over to Alokian. Perhaps yours as well, friend.
Lokian's not really looking around at anybody or talking at the moment. He seems to be concentrating what looks to be like he's concentrating on the ground. But he's just focused, silent. He might glance over when you say that, and then go back to concentrating on the ground.
Okay.
What of you, Belkin? Are you up for skewering?
I've never skewered anything but fish before.
Oh, there is certainly riches to be made.
But I'll follow your lead.
Keth, right?
Yes.
Seem more than capable. How do you feel about caving in the skulls of some of these cultists?
Sounds like a good time to me. Kind of smiles.
It would appear we're all in agreement then. Corvin. I...
So it's at this point that Alokin just gets up from the campfire. As he gets up, he doesn't look at anybody, just stares at the ground. He's going to walk away to his area where he's going to set up his tent and recede inside.
I'll look over at Belkin. Hopefully he doesn't go too hard on himself tonight, eh?
Hopefully.
Body can heal. But the scars done to the body leave scars in the mind that take much, much longer.
The great loss to us, Zane says. Be it in kind.
Indeed.
Rest of a couple hours. Looks like they need it. Get going.
We're headed into a swamp, right?
Yeah. You know of the trail where you saw the footprints of the two individuals, two sets of horses that led into the swamps, sort of heading a northwest direction, deeper into the vast swamps.
Through the bog we go.
Do we have some kind of trail?
There is a trail that you know where it started. Are you trained in survival? Any of you trained in survival?
I am.
Okay. You know that the longer you wait, especially in the swamp, the more time that passes, the harder it will be to track them.
We probably should leave as soon as we can. we may lose them. Maybe take an hour or so.
All right.
Keth will kind of
Rest
stand
up.
up and put the glaive on his shoulder and start kind of like walking, kind of patrolling the area.
Okay.
Is there anything like interesting about the glaive, or does it just look like a standard glaive?
It's pretty nice. It kind of has some intricate carving on it, but it's like this black iron.
Nice.
It kind of matches his outfit really well. Like it's pretty. It looks really nice, really well made.
I'm eyeballing it.
He doesn't really notice. He's just walking around.
All right. Zan offers food and coffee for anyone that wants to partake. Otherwise, if no one wants to do anything else that hour, Lokian, anything particular you would like to do?
So yeah, Alokian's going to set up kind of his little ritual in his tent, and tonight he is going to start out straight into the self-flagellation. So he's going to take the spiked belt.
As Lokian's in his tent, pulling out the different things for his ritual, placing them around for him, taking out his leather thong that he probably whips himself with. He pulls out, he feels in his pocket a piece of cloth, and he pulls it out, and it's stained with a slight bit of blood, but it's a strip of cloth, probably a foot and a half, maybe 2 feet long, and almost immediately he recognizes it. It was the gag that was around Livshana's mouth, which was torn from Corbin's clothes. He ripped his own clothes to gag her earlier on, a few days ago. You had taken it off of Livshana, but not put it back, and you realized it was in your pocket as you sit there and prepare for your ritual.
So he'll put the piece of cloth in front of his reliquary.
And it's odd. There is a bit of blood on it, stained and browning, but a lot of the blood looks as though it's not turning. It's staying red.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm not sure what to do with that information. But yeah, no, he puts it in front of his reliquary. And he's just concentrating on it. And he starts the flagellation. And with every hit, he winces. And a flash enters his mind of his friend holding on. And it's just his last breath over and over and over again in his mind with every hit. And he does this for 10, 15 minutes.
As Alokian focuses on that moment, the last moment that Corbin had in life, his thoughts and those visions go beyond just that moment. You see moments where he stood between you and the threat. And you saw the pain that he had gone through. Either each strike of the long sword from the draconic man that finally took him down. Then it flashes. You see more when he took a burst of fire trying to protect you. And again, more in Daraloon when a mage blasted him with flames, engulfing him. He fell, taking the pain for you in those moments, but protecting you and protecting the others. Whether that was just because it was his job, his duty, or something more, you question, but your vision goes beyond just the moment of his last breath, but everything he suffered along the way since you've been with him. Each and every strike that you take, you feel his pain.
Once he's finished, he'll kind of just put his hands out in front of him and bow his head down. You do not understand my purpose. I thought I was meant to protect and heal these people. I thought I was chosen by you to make sure that they would not suffer. And yet, he did. He suffered for us, much like you did. But if I'm unable to keep them alive, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing for you in your name? Am I good enough? Is this what I've meant to do? The way I've been ending suffering doesn't seem to pay off in the end. I need guidance. I need to know that the path that I'm on is the correct one. And then he'll just kind of lay down.
And he does lay down. You feel the pain again that you've caused to yourself. You feel the wetness and the cold as blood is slowly seeping from what you've done to yourself. You lay upon your back. Feel it. You feel the suffering, but it numbs. It starts to push beyond just pain. And you realize, clutched in your hand, balled up, is again that cloth. You look over, down into your palm. An entire piece of cloth is blood red.
Yeah, he's gonna fall asleep.
Okay.
He's
Everyone
gonna
that's
fall asleep holding that.
everyone that's outside, what's your passive perception checks?
You ask us that all the time, but I never remember.
14
Okay.
for Kath.
14.
Good.
Passive perception. 11.
All right. So, Keth and Kaz, you hear a Lokian doing his ritual within his tent. It goes on and on, what seems like over an hour or so. Kaz, particularly, this is probably a bit longer than what normally a Lokian would do. Keth, definitely probably something strange you've never seen before. But you get the sense of there's some ritualistic aspect of whatever's going on inside the tent. And what's odd is you look at the tent and you feel as though there's a strong presence emanating from there, but you can't quite place it. And it's beyond just a Lokian. Something more. Something there beyond your sight, your smell, that you can hear. And after he's done, everything stops. A few moments later, whatever strength of this presence slowly wanes and goes.
Okay.
But does anyone else want to do anything? If not, we can fast forward to when everyone is prepared to head. Okay. So, Zan finally begins to gather his things and puts them in the satchel on the horse that he has. And the sun begins to rise over the horizon, slowly, turning the sky orange, blue. Some clouds do gather around, but most of them are white in color. But all of you notice, to the north, above the mountains, beyond the vast swamp, a dark swath of clouds just intermingling with themselves. Just a large swath of clouds that is just almost black in color. Can't make out any details from the distance that you are, but you can see the darkness that's above the mountains there.
Do I feel like that's a storm?
Go ahead and either roll survival or nature.
$17.
Which one did you roll?
Survival.
Okay. So you're looking at the clouds around you, and you've studied them from time to time to be able to try to work around, weather that's coming in or anything like that. What's odd is the storm clouds you've seen before usually are moving because there's a bit of wind that's there. This set of clouds linger, unmoving, staying still.
Is that the way we're going?
From what you remember, the track that was leading into the swamp was going more northwestern. This is just slightly more eastern towards the mountains. But it is north.
That doesn't look very good. Are we ready to go?
Yes. pretty as we're going to be.
Zan looks at the group of you. Anyone good at tracking? Obviously I've trained a bit, but I can help.
I'm not too bad at it myself. Perhaps do it.
You lead, and I'll try to help you as best I can.
All right. Okay. All right, roll survival again, or is it?
Yeah, it'll be a survival check. You'll be able to roll at advantage. So if no one else wants to do anything in particular, you break camp, gather your things and your animals, probably feeding them if necessary. Alokian, you wake with Cloud curled up on your chest. As it seems she probably had a long night of adventure. But you head over to where the trail begins to head northwest deeper into the vast swamp. You know where the trail starts, and it looks like it's following what looks like a small game trail or something like that. So you can go ahead and roll survival check at advantage.
Okay. 21.
Nice.
So you begin to follow the path leading deeper into the swamps. Here where you are, there is a bit of water here and there. Much of it's tall grass, some winding trees, a lot of larger brush and bushes. So not too tall of trees where you currently are, and not too much water or swampy mud. This is the beginning of the vast swamps. So it's wetlands, but not as bad as you would deeper in. Keth, maybe you've experienced it a few times, the outskirts, especially if you've been here, of the vast swamp. But you know that within the vast swamps, there's a number of dangers that could be lying and waiting ahead. So I need someone to go ahead and roll me d20.
I got it. Oh, I don't. Go ahead.
I never want to be responsible for our demise.
I think Andrew should roll it.
9.
A 9.
9.
Okay. So, the group of you begin to traverse through and into the vast swamps. There's no sight of, at least from what you can see, any signs of civilization in the direction you're going. Much of it gets muddier and wetter and more difficult to traverse. Multiple times, with Zan's help, you work your way around large mud pits that could many times people drown within. But you make your way through. Traveling through the swamp is it's difficult. So it's not normal as far as traveling. So if you beyond like traveling on a road or something like that, this is twice as hard, twice as long, and twice as exhausting. So a few hours in, the group of you push your way through to midday, and beyond the few pitfalls that you find your way around, you're able to get deeper into the swamps, and you're following the path fairly well. The set of hoof prints that goes down these winding and crossing at game trails is rather easy for you to continue to find because they've sunken into the dirt here, and you've seen as the ground gets softer, they actually get off of their horses and begin to lead them. Is anyone going to stay on their horses as you travel? Keth, you know that it's probably a bad idea to have all that weight in one spot.
Yeah. And I assume Keth was kind of tracking, so he was off his for sure.
Yep. And it's also easy to track because it seems like they're going in a singular direction as best as possible. They do follow game trails, and then there's other game trails that come crossing the path, but it is a heavily traveled game trail. And you even see from time to time with that roll a few sets of prints that are older that head south in the direction that you are traveling from. Hoof prints, clawed feet, definitely the smaller lizard creatures. But you make it to midday, no problems. Pass through and deeper into the swamps, and you continue on. Unless anyone wants to do anything, we'll skip ahead a bit. The rest of the day goes uneventful. The sun begins to finally set, but the trail continues on. Alokian, you can make out as you're going down the trail, the path, off on one of the right sides, as Keth looks in that direction as he's following some prints. Looks like the game trail moves off to the right side. There's a small mound within, like, it's almost horseshoe shape, has a pond around it. You're getting more windy trees, taller here. You can see there's like a small grove of trees that semicircle around this mound, and what looks like a makeshift camp that was there. Keth, the path actually leads in that direction.
Okay. We don't see anybody there currently.
You don't see anyone there, no.
Yeah. They might have taken a break up here. I want to check it out. Kind of turn and look to the halfling. Maybe sneakily.
It's currently probably about 60 feet up ahead on the trail.
Yeah, I can count up ahead. Shouldn't be alright.
All right. Go ahead and make a stealth check as you begin to sneak your way. The sun is setting. There's enough shadows around the area and brush and cover for you to take along the path. A lot of good spots probably for ambushes as you're looking around.
14.
All right. Belkin steps into the brush and underbrush and the tall grass that's there. Much of it actually goes over his head, so he's easily hidden as he begins to walk up that direction towards the mound. The mound is probably about 20 feet in diameter. It's just a mound of dirt and mud that has a number of moss and vine cover. A lot of leaves there, as well as there's taller trees circling that spot. But you head that way. Go ahead and make a perception check as you're looking around, trying to see if anyone's there.
You got 21.
All right. You look around as you approach 40 feet, 30 feet, 20 feet. You don't see anyone there. You don't see anything hidden within the brush of the grass nearby. You do see what looks like some burnt logs that was piled up. A lot of it looked like it was too wet to actually finish burning, especially towards the ends. But they did have a makeshift campfire there, but was hastily put out. You see a number of footprints in and around the area, some broken branches where looks like they tied up the horses on a nearby tree. But other than that, you don't find anything else out of the ordinary. but you see the footprints and the hoof prints leading back off towards that game trail that's ahead that you've been following.
Okay. I'll go back and say,
Okay.
looks like that they may camp, that they quickly snuffed it and they're on the move again.
All right. Keth will kind of turn around and look at the group. Should we keep moving? It is dark. Right. It is dark. Correct?
Yeah, it's turning
Getting
dark.
dark.
The sky is turning a dark purple as the sun's setting.
We can get at least another hour in to close the gap.
I think that's a good idea.
Alokian will gather around everyone and Eyes of the Night.
Okay.
Giving everyone dark vision for the next hour.
Yeah, bad idea.
All right. Let's go. And he'll kind of turn and start.
Go ahead and make another survival check as you're picking up the trail again and continuing on.
Is someone helping me?
Yeah, Zan will help you.
And it's still helping. Okay. 15.
Okay.
Not near as good.
You can continue following the trail easily enough, especially with Zan's help. It gets a little bit harder in the dark, as you do have dark vision, but even with the dark vision, everything's still in dim light. You do have the light of the moon that's now starting to shine over the trees, through the clouds overhead. But everyone that's kind of paying attention, especially Tomoe, go ahead and roll perception checks.
Am I rolling one? I guess not.
I'm going to say
probably
Keth and Zan are focused on what they're doing. So we'll use your passive.
21 for me, 9 for Tomoe.
Okay.
22 for me.
22. Oh,
All
sorry,
right.
19.
Don't steal my goal.
Kaz, Belkin, and Alokian. You hear what sounds like the flapping of wings in the air. Not too far off to the right from the path that you're on, as leathery wings flap against heavy bodies. More like so less like a bird, but more like a bat, as you hear these wings flapping about. You hear small little chirpings and sounds coming from maybe 3-4 creatures. You're not quite sure, but they're moving around somewhat sporadic and rapidly. But not in the direction you're heading, but off to the right side of the path, across like some of the water and swamp lands. That's not too far. You don't see them within the dark, even with your vision, but you hear them.
I'll send Tomoe in the direction that I hear it.
Okay.
And look through her eyes.
All right. So does a group of you stop, or someone leading Kaz?
I can place my hand on someone's shoulder and just continue moving.
Yeah.
All right. You send Tomoe in that direction, and change to her vision, her eyes, as she's soaring over the group of you, heading to the right side of that path, and over what looks like a large pond with multiple smaller waterways that are going in and out, a lot of grass and mud. You get the scent of decaying vegetation in the air as she's swooping across the mud that's there. You also see, with your perception check as you're following the sound of the flaps, you see 3 small forms flapping throughout the air. Their bodies are somewhat bulbous, a like dark brown pinkish skin, large leathery bat-like wings, tufts of long feathers on the backside of its skull, some tail feathers out of the rear of each of them. They each have sharp-looking talons and claws, a set of actually 4 of them, and then long, what looks like a beak or something with a hook on the end of it. But they're flying about, chirping and circling. And as Tomoe approaches, they don't quite notice her just yet. Can't hear you.
Nope.
Oh, goodness. Discord may be being weird, guys. One moment.
There we go. Okay.
There you go. Hey.
We hear you.
Had to deselect and reselect it because, Discord.
Yeah.
Do I get the sense that they're predator-ish, like they could be a problem?
They definitely have like talons and claws. They have really long, looks like maybe beaks or something.
Can I tell what they are?
Go ahead and roll a nature check.
Not too bad at those. 16.
Okay. From what you see, they definitely look like they're hunters of sorts. You heard of a creature called a sturge before. That sort of looks like these creatures. They're
Okay.
like bat-like, but they actually have long, not beaks, but almost like a mosquito.
Yeah, like
or-
mosquito pincer things. Yeah.
Yes. And so they definitely do hunt, but with
Okay.
that roll, they hunt for blood.
All right. I will snap and have Tomoe instantly return to my shoulder.
Okay.
All right, all. There appear to be sturges in the wind. And I'll gesture toward the direction. Ideally, I would like to avoid them. Though I suspect they wouldn't put up much of a fight if they do get a feed. Could set us back.
All right. Perhaps we keep moving. Try to keep it quiet as we can.
All right.
All right. The group of you are going to try to stealth your way forward.
Yeah,
All right.
I guess so.
Go ahead and roll a stealth
seems
check.
like the thing to do.
Self, you say that.
16.
23.
Okay.
4.
All right.
Nice.
If anyone also has knowledge
Group.
nature, as he says sturge, you can roll it as well.
I do not. I don't even know what sturge is. Me, Doken, or the player. I don't know.
13.
They're pain in the ass is what they are.
Fantastic.
If you hit them, they go down in like one hit, but they can deal
9.
significant amount of
First out.
damage. And they travel
Right.
in large packs.
So Keth has heard of a sturge, but no more information beyond that they're bloodsuckers.
I think sturge is a type of fish.
Imagine like a mosquito, like mosquito and a bat had a devil child,
Mm.
and it just eats everything. Like anything with blood just drains it dry.
Nom nom nom.
So the group of you begin to head forward, trying to be as quiet as possible. Alokian seeming probably distracted as he's sloshing around in the mud and dirt, his armor clinking along the way. Those of you that heard the sturges do hear the sounds of the chirping, the flapping of wings as you continue on, but they seem to be following a group of you probably 100 or so feet behind you. Those of you that rolled over a 20, you can tell that there's only 2 currently.
Is that normal for a pack or a group?
Cause you're not quite sure.
I'm not certain.
When you studied these creatures, you studied what they look like, and you're like, oh, these are weird things, so and you just moved on.
It could be normal, it could be abnormal. There could be more in the wind, there could be none in the wind. I would operate on the presumption always that there are more than you can see.
Fair enough.
They are
Kath,
like very irritating, very ugly bugs.
I mean, most bugs are early, but Kath, are you still able to pick up the trail? Are we still on the right path?
I've got it for now. We'll see how long I can keep it.
And the group of you continue on. About 30 minutes or so, as you're going through the trail, going down the path, you see the ground, the earth, the trees are slowly turning a darker color. The water looks like it's rising as you're probably going down in sea level, as you can tell a lot of the water here is dark, inky black. The stench of rotting vegetation just permeates and swells from the swamp. Each step you take just kind of plumes that stench in and around you. But you're still being trailed and followed. So much so that everyone that had that perception and been paying attention, whatever swarm of these creatures was there has probably doubled or even tripled at this point.
Can I determine if there's a clear way to avoid them?
They seem to just be trailing the group of you and following a decent distance back. Now, no more information other than what you've had so far. You can tell that they definitely know where you are.
All right.
And that rings a bell. They know where you are. As you think about that, you remember reading, they have infravision. They see heat.
Hmm.
And that's why they were so deadly.
All right, everyone. I do not believe we are going to continue unabated. We may need to stand our ground. Dispatch of them quickly. Do yourselves a favor. Don't let them bite you.
Is there any way to hide from them? Perhaps.
No.
Why is that?
They have infravision. They can see heat. And it would appear that they've caught on to us.
All right.
As a group of you are talking, you can make another perception check to try to tell how many may be there.
Do you think that the mud that we're traveling could hide our fire heat? Give them some kind of.
Don't believe so, no. There's still heat beneath the mud. They'd be able to see through it, I suspect. The only thing we could do is drop our body temperatures to a point of non-living. Not
Are
worth
we,
it.
Are
We stand our ground and we strike true, we strike fast. Make a dispatch of them quickly.
Are we attached to all these horses?
Yes.
All right.
Then I'll reach up and pet my horse in the side.
Okay.
I forgot what my horse's name was.
So do we prepare for an onslaught from the Sturges? Is that what's going on now?
Yeah.
All right.
That's my recommendation if you all agree.
Might
me-
I try something?
Sure.
And Alokian will quickly gather some sticks around him
Okay.
and using his tinderbox
I
Try to
was gonna do the same thing.
strike a fire.
Yeah, can I help him
Okay.
with that?
Yeah, sure.
I can do it.
Go ahead
I
and
can do
roll
it.
a
Okay.
survival check as you're trying to light a fire.
Do it with advantage, Joey. I'll give you advantage for the help.
Okay, 17.
All right. You're able to light some of the nearby foliage and grass on fire. It's not going to spread too much because of how wet everything is, but it probably will spread some of the tops of the dying grass here and there. So you spark it and begins to light.
Yeah, and I'll throw whatever, anything that's maybe dry. Try to throw it near it, on it.
Okay. Yeah, you're able to get a nice fire to start in the grass on the side of the trail there.
And then I will take one stick that is on fire and toss it to the other side of the trail. So, like, let's say we did that on the left side. I want to toss it onto the right side into anything that looks flammable.
Okay. There's a lot of tall grass here, and a lot of that grass, some of it's laid over and piled over each other, dying as new grass is growing between it. So it's kind of intertwined and webbed. So yeah.
So I'll just toss it into some of that and just whatever would piss off Smokey the Bear the most.
Perfect. Well,
Only you can
you get a
start
fire
fires.
started on either side of the small game trail that you're on.
Yes, and then I will say, with haste now, we move.
All right.
Okay.
Does maneuver.
All right.
Then
You begin.
we'll get up and go.
You continue moving forward down the game trail. Keth, go ahead and roll another survival check as all this is going on
Come on.
to keep track of what game trail you're going down.
15.
Okay. Was that with advantage?
That was with advantage, unfortunately.
Well, you're able to continue following the trail, especially with the dark vision that Alokian granted. Even though you have your own extended on ahead of you, as you can get a wider swath of view around you. Even though it's dull and dim light through your dark vision, you can still see the trail and continue on. You move ahead, and it looks like some of whatever swarm now that's flying behind you does circle around the flames. A few of the small creatures fly outward and around as if they're looking. It seems your distraction with the fire currently has them distracted. But going at the pace you're going, you're not quite sure if you're able to get out of sight before the fire continues to distract them, as they are. Especially those of you that rolled over a 20, you can tell that there's communication going on between them. and one shoots out and comes back in. Another one shoots out, comes back into this small swarm of sturges. You see a total of what looks like 12 of these creatures that are flying in and around the area.
I will cast multiple firebolts in various directions to set up like multiple areas of fire
Okay.
to try and distract them or disperse them quickly.
Roll a perception check as you're looking around for something to try to light with your fire bolts. Something that's not too wet, anyway.
Natural 20 for a 24.
So not too far off the path, probably about 15 feet behind you guys on the left side of the path, there's a large tree trunk that had broken, fallen in. It looks hollow and fairly dry. Well, at least the top half of it is, as it's jutting out of the water. You probably can light that easily enough with a few firebolts.
All right. Throw that out and we'll just keep moving.
Poof, poof. Few flames. You see one of the sturges that's flying overhead kind of swoop down from where the flames came from, but the group of you duck low, hide into some bushes as best you can. You believe, even though these things see heat, it follows where the firebolt is, and now that trunk begins to almost instantly engulf into a large fire, and the swarm begins to just circle the flames. Now's your moment.
All right. Swiftly now.
All right.
In as quickly and quietly as possible, the group of you push forward down the trail again. It seems your distractions were successful, and the sturges are no longer following you. Even though behind you, you do get a slight bit of worry as you see smoke, fire spreading across the grass in the swamp. That's behind you, though.
It's a swamp.
a
How bad
swamp.
could it get?
Sure to be fine.
But the group of you continue on, and your hour of travel passes. You wish to stop? Continue. You are tired from traveling in these conditions. It's hot, it's muggy, it's difficult. The earth itself tries to just cling to you as you push down this game trail. Sometimes you passing water, thick mud that just mats against your boots, trying to pull them from your feet as they suck and stick to them.
What do you all think?
Everyone can see Zan is sweating profusely, and he hasn't thrown up in a while, but he does look exhausted. But he's trying to hide it as best he can.
I think it best for us to rest. They will need to as well. We will pick up early.
Okay.
All right.
So currently, there's no sign of a decent spot to make camp. You do see some fallen logs and trees that's just above water that perhaps you can rest on. There are some spots where the grass does come up into small mounds here and there. You do even see some larger rocks that are jutting out of the ground. But right where you're currently at, you don't see any suitable places to actually take a rest. Beyond just sitting on a log or laying on a log.
I'll send Tomaway out 100 feet in all directions to try and determine if there's a better spot for
Okay.
us to make camp.
Go ahead and roll a perception check.
Come on, Tomaway. 22.
All right. she flies out about 100 feet or so ahead and begins to just make a few loops around as you give her the command to look for probably dry land or something like that. She flies around a bit, and you get some confirmation coming from her as she begins to return. She's returning from a like north eastern direction. It seems like she's coming from off the path a bit.
All right. Just a little ways off the path, northeast from here. There's a place for us to set up camp.
Keth will take note as best he can where the tracks are at, and what direction they were heading in. He'll probably take out like a knife, a dagger, and like scratch in the tree and maybe put like an arrow.
Okay. Yep.
Kind of.
There are some larger trees here that he can scratch an arrow in the direction of the game trail that they've been following, or these tracks, so that way he remembers. But you step off of this larger game trail, and you find some smaller paths here and there that is heading in a direction that Tumaway had confirmation that there's possibly dry land at. But a lot of where you have to go through, you can see a lot of the wetlands here sunken into a lot of water in the direction she's at. Actually, some of the trees is just growing from the water itself. In that direction, you do see a number of these trees have almost spike-like roots coming from the earth. But a lot of the grass in that direction is not as thick as you're coming off the trail and heading that northwestern direction. But you can see as you move off probably about 100 feet or so up ahead, there is another mound that has grass all in and around it, but a lot of the grass looks like it's laid down, as if something was stomping on it or laying on top of it. It's a large mound, probably about 30 or 40 feet in diameter, kind of like peanut shaped. But with the dark vision, you can tell a lot of the grass has been laid down on top of that mound. But the group of you push your way through some of the water there as you have to traverse through some of the swamp water to get to it. Anything in particular? Otherwise, we'll get to the mound.
All good.
All right. So you all get to where the ground recedes the water there. The earth is actually pretty compact. It feels like it's heavy, been compact over time. A lot of the grass, like I said, is laid down, and you can tell that something's been bedding here as you're looking around. Go ahead and make perception checks.
17.
14 for me, 22 for Tomoe.
Okay.
That's for 20, for 23 for me.
All right.
10.
Okay. Again, Lokian is still distracted. But the group of you looking around the area for the camp, it looks like actually a decent spot to camp. Especially because the grass is already laid down. It'll make a decent spot to put your bedrolls down on. You might have to deal with some insects or some stuff like that as biting flies, but at least it's not sturges. But both Keth and Belkin, in different spots on this mounded area, you find old bones. Like jutting out of the dirt and mud. Here and there. Keth is probably on one side of the mound, and Belkin, you're probably on the other. Find old bones. Some of them jutting out the mud, some of them still laying on top. Belkin in particular, you actually find what looks like some entrails in old blood splattered on the backside of this mound. Some bones that look like they were picked clean of any flesh that was on them. You also see what looks like in that area there very large footprints. Bare feet, not a bear, but no booted feet, sinking in some of the dirt and mud there. You looking at them, and some of the footprints are, probably about 2.5 feet long. Very large footprints.
I will pick up a few of the bones and I will go over to Loki and thinking that he has some medical training.
Okay.
Do you know what this was?
It was once living and now it's dead.
Oh, yeah, but it wasn't my cousin, was it?
Possibly. Although they look too large.
Yeah. Okay. I think how big is the bedding at the what was made the
Where
bed?
everything looks like it was been pushed down the grass.
Yeah.
So you'd probably have to climb up into a tree or something to see the entirety of what's there. As you're looking around from your perspective, it looks pretty big. Or you can probably walk it off if you want in some of these large areas. You take your time out with the perception check you had earlier. 10, 15 feet. Large spots that whatever was laying here.
Guys, I think we're in somebody's bed, and it's awfully weird. I found some remains, and it looks like it could eat more than a pack of Sturgis.
Yes, I'm not sure this is the best place to stay. Seems like it's someone's home.
Perhaps so, but were you able to find another? We are rather hard pressed. Find a decent spot to camp.
The way I see it, it is late. And if it's not here already, it is either dead or has abandoned this. We rest here.
I am happy to take those chances.
Or it hunts at night. But as you wish. Keth will go and sit down on a log.
Okay.
Gonna watch in the group.
Keth, as Belkin does point out some of the Belkin, do you show the footprints or anything like that?
If anybody wants to see him, I tell him that there's footprints by where I found leftovers.
Yeah, Keth would go look at it.
Okay.
For sure.
Roll a survival check as you're looking at the prints and the large area where this stuff is, whatever was laying down here in bedding.
21.
Okay.
Nice.
It's probably some sort of giant. Maybe. Possibly a troll. You can't tell because the prints are actually somewhat old.
Okay.
So whatever's been here, hasn't been here for maybe a week or so.
Okay. All right. Well, we might be safe. It seems like it hasn't been back for a while.
That puts my mind at ease.
Wonderful.
All right. So do the group of you break for camp?
Yeah,
Yes.
seems like the thing to do.
Yep. Zan ties up his horse to one of the nearby trees that's on this mounded area. And you can spread apart if you want. But Zan looks completely tired. He takes out some rations, drinks some water, just basically rolls out his bedroll and lays down.
Can I attempt to make a medicine check to see if I can identify what might be wrong with Zan?
Sure.
$15.
Do you go over and ask him to examine him?
Yeah.
Or are you just trying to look?
Yeah, I'm gonna want to do like a
thorough
proper
check?
checkup. Yeah. Zan, how are you feeling?
Angry.
And physically?
I'm just tired. Haven't been able to sleep very well since everything.
It's understandable. You will need to try and get some rest tonight.
I think I might be able to finally.
I'd like to take a quick look at you, if I may. Your feeling of unwell, I just want to ensure it's nothing more serious.
All right. He sits up.
All right. I'll give him a once over.
Right. He does look like he's on the verge of fatigue. Probably if he pushed it any further, he would fall into that fatigue. You don't see any signs of like a disease or anything, but he may be coming down with a cold because he feels warmer to your touch than normally would probably. So his temperature probably is up a bit. So he definitely needs rest. But beyond that, you don't see any diseases or any signs of diseases in that case that you know of. And yeah, he just looks really tired.
Interesting. Oh. Well, that's not good.
What is it?
Zan, it appears you have man cold. It is dreadful thing that some might even state it's worse than a woman's pregnancy. With some rest, perhaps a little bit of time of you acting like a baby, you might be all right.
Okay. Roll a deception check if you're trying to just lie to.
No, not trying to like make.
You're just trying to be funny. Okay.
Yeah.
He lets out a chuckle. Thanks, Kaz.
You're very welcome. Rest well.
He nods and then he just kind of rolls over to on the side, lays down. And not too long after, he does fall asleep. All right. Anyone else want to do anything in particular? And are there any watches going on for the night?
Keth will volunteer to take first watch.
Cool.
You will get your rest.
All right. I will take a seat and enter my trance and just have Tomoe keep a watchful eye on my shoulder.
All right. Being a nocturnal creature, she's definitely alert at night, or alert during the day, as she keeps an eye out for you, as well as Keth. Belkin and Alokian, do you do anything particular to set up for the evening?
Just a bedroll.
Okay.
Mhm.
Anything else? That's it.
That'd be
No. I had DM'd you, but it doesn't need to be a DM really. Alokian would have been seeing Zan before, how he was. Alokian would have been kind of observing him throughout the last day or so.
Yep.
As we've been traveling. I rolled a 12 for my medicine check. Just to see if I can kind of grasp what's going on with him.
Okay.
Kind of formulating ideas in my brain as we were traveling.
So, much like Kaz, you get the same feelings of thoughts of what's going on with him. And it could be just from dying and coming back to life, it's still lingering there. The stress in the body, mind, and soul, especially now that Corvin has passed. Probably a lot of that stress maybe is what weighing on him a bit and maybe making him sick. At least making his immune system low enough to catch a cold or something.
Okay. I'll just be mindful of that.
Yep. But the group of you begin to rest, and Keth and Tomoe keep a watchful eye out that evening. Keth,
Yes.
with your passive perception, make you roll it. You see a light, a blue light flashing, maybe one on the horizon, on over the water, above the grass, probably 150 feet, over the swamps, not too far away. But like this bright blue light just floating above the grass, and it circles, begins to drift over the water and in your direction. This is probably 2 hours in, hour and a half into your watch.
Okay.
You can see the light is probably maybe about a foot in diameter, and it's just kind of pulsing slightly as it does just drift over the water. The reflections of the light just kind of cascading across the smooth swamp water. And it's weird because the water's so black, the mirrored image of this light just kind of bounces and makes that brightness even brighter.
And it is coming towards us currently.
Not like directly, but kind of just drifting in your direction.
Do I know anything about what this might be?
You can roll a knowledge religion or arcana.
Yeah. Neither of them are great. 6 for religion.
Okay. Not quite sure what it is.
Okay. Keth will kind of stand up, and kind of not move. He'll move to the side of the camp closest to it and kind of keep an eye on it.
All right.
Not moving towards it, not waking anyone up yet. But
It's about
keeping an
80
eye.
feet away. And it's going towards the more northern side of this mound that you're on, in the direction where Belkin found a lot of those bones. 60 feet. It's just kind of drifting.
Okay. It's just getting closer.
It is getting closer.
He'll go ahead and take the end of his glaive and kind of jab Kaz.
Okay.
Wake him up.
Kaz, you get a jab in your side.
All right,
Tomoe
that's
kind of ruffles her feathers as she's watching this light and sense of possible danger feel?
You could have just said my name. Uh,
There's something in the distance. A light.
You look that
Oh.
direction and you see it begins to kind of circle the outer perimeter over the water, about 30 feet away, heading back towards that game trail.
can I tell what it is?
Yeah, you can roll a knowledge arcana or religion.
Natural 20 for a 27.
Boom. Nice.
Booyaka.
You've done some
Just
research.
send me a stat sheet.
You've done some research on the different undead creatures and arcane creatures. This looks like some sort of wandering spirit. More than likely a reflection of a past life. In particular, probably a ghost of sorts. Though it's not taken its form of what it was in life yet. But these spirits are normally stuck in the plane that they're on and reliving their last moments in life. A lot of times they're malevolent creatures. Very few times you've heard them to either be just focused on whatever their last moments were, or just stuck there. So a lot of times they could be malevolent and vicious spirits. Other times there's something that's keeping them here. But this looks like it begins to shift away from the group of you and more towards that larger path as this light just kind of drifts off in that direction.
Okay. That does appear to be a ghost. Although under normal circumstances, I might wish to relieve it of its suffering and send it on. For now, I think it best everyone rest. If it does not bother us, we needn't bother it.
All right. Sorry to disturb you.
It is all right. I will resume my meditation.
All right.
A few moments later, the spirit drifts past just on the edge of this mountain that you're on and back towards the trail that you were on before. But Kaz goes back to his meditation. Kath, I'm assuming you just watch it. Do you mess with it at all?
I will just watch it.
All right. It goes back through the trees there towards that game trail.
As it's kind of drifting away slowly, I'd probably say, Keth would say to himself, seems like you're as lost as I am. I'll kind of do a big huff.
Okay.
And then at the end of 2 hours, he'll go and kick a Lokian awake.
Okay.
Like full on kick.
No,
like I don't know my own strength. Like he takes
yeah,
damage from it.
exactly. Here's a concussion. Wake up. Right in the skull. As hard as I can.
So before the 2 hours passes, about 20 minutes after that spirit drifts on towards the path, you still see the light lingering through the trees there, probably about 80 feet ahead on the path in a direction you were heading but have not gone quite yet. Then you can hear the sounds of hooves. A howl in the air, but it's muffled and just scattered almost. A grunt and a yell coming from a person, and then the sound of combat. steel upon steel.
Okay. Kath will begin waking people up.
Okay.
I'll send Tomoe in that direction and look through her eyes.
All right. One by one, Keth begins to wake you up, and Tomoe takes off in that direction. You want her to kind of be low or above the trees? What is the plan?
I'm not overly concerned if she's noticed. I
Okay.
just really want to see what's going on.
All right. You look through her eyes as she drifts low over the trees and through the trees there, back towards the game trail where you're on. And as she gets there, or at least enough to see what's going on, the light is kind of dispersed to what seems like the depiction before you. You see a rider on the back of what looks like maybe a war horse or something, as its depiction is kind of hazy and fuzzy. The details on this figure is hard to make out, but it currently has a spear pushed down into what looks like a humanoid figure with thick, heavy furs. Now, these depictions are translucent. The light is emanating from these forms, but you can still see through them. The spear is jutted into the stomach of this person, the thick, heavy furs and hides over the shoulders, but much of its body is uncovered beyond what looks like some sort of leather skirt that's tied onto the creature. Its head is bald except for what looks like a center ponytail that's growing back with a long ponytail probably midway down the humanoid's back. You see large tusks coming from its mouth. It definitely looks like probably an orc or something being stabbed by another creature on horseback. There's a wolf that's kind of curled around the humanoid that's being stabbed. The wolf itself has very fine, thick fur across its body, and it looks like it's trying to grab onto the spear and shake it off of the orc that's being stabbed. Pain is washing over its face, but it also looks and emanates the feeling of betrayal. As you're watching this horseman stab the creature, the orc figure, take the spear out and begin to ride off. The wolf begins to curl up, looking at the orc's face and down towards the stomach wound that he currently has. The orc begins to push himself up, trying to sit, looks back towards the direction where the rider and finally vanishes behind him down this game trail. He pulls himself up near to one of the trees that's nearby and leans back against it, taking sharp breaths.
How far away is he?
From the group of you is probably 90 or 100 feet back onto the path that you were on.
I'll have Tomoe fly in front of him and land. Just
when she does,
then,
the wolf does turn towards Tomoe. A low growl begins to emanate, a warning.
And she'll just take a step back and then tilt the head to the side.
Okay.
And then gesture like a wing into the direction that we are.
Okay. Both the orc and the wolf look in that direction. The orc, you can see as he does speak, blood is pooling from his mouth and begins to speak in Orcish. Do you understand it?
I do not.
and he's pointing in that direction.
I'll just have Tomoe reply with, "Whoo," and then fly up a little, and then begin to fly in that direction, and then wait for him to see if he'll follow.
Right. When she begins to fly in that direction, it doesn't look like neither the wolf or the orc begins to approach. Now, the wolf is actually very big for a wolf. It's overgrown compared to what you've experienced in the past, if you have ever seen one before.
All right. I'll let the others know now that everyone's awake. What I see there.
Okay.
I have had Tomoe gesture that they should follow her toward where we are. But, what would you all like to do?
Let's go. And Keth will stand up and start moving that direction.
Okay.
All right.
Keth begins to slosh through the mud and water there, heading in the direction of the path where this scene is unfolding. Anyone else going along?
Did Cass wake up Belcom? He woke up Belcom, right?
Yeah, I imagine he would
Everyone,
have been
yeah.
waking
Yeah, he said he
everyone up
woke
well.
everyone up.
Okay,
So
yeah,
Loken, you are also awake.
then I'll follow Cass.
Okay. Sloshing through the water swamp there to get to the path where the scene is. Does a Lokian come along?
Yeah.
Okay. And Kaz?
I'm actually going to hang back.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Do you
if it
send
seems
Tom
like I'm
away?
needed, then I'll keep Tomoe there.
Okay.
And just keep an eye on things.
Okay. So, some of you head through the swamp to where this ghostly visage is. And you can make out the orc bleeding out against the tree. When you do get there, you see him kind of turned and doing something behind him between the roots in the tree that's there. It's slightly in the water, his hands there in the water. The wolf begins to growl as the group approaches. The orc leans over and pulls out a jagged blade as the group of you are approaching.
I'll have Tomoe land and just bow.
Keth will also say, in Orcish, say, "Brother, we are here to help."
So, you've probably dealt with or seen orcs or have heard of orcs before. I mean, orcs are common, but not common for most people to have
Oh,
met before, right?
Is he a full orc or half orc?
Well, this one in particular, most orcs are like a greenish skin, have like a pig-like nose, large tusks. This one in particular, you can't tell his skin color because of its ghostly figure, but he does have tusk, but his nose is not pig-like. Much of his skin is fairly smooth. A lot of his clothing and what he's wearing is well kept, which is not common for a normal green-skinned orc of Faerun. Those of you that are trained in any sort of knowledge nature, you actually know there's a few different types of orcs in Faerun. One being a gray orc and the other being a green-skinned orc. This one in particular looks and appears to be a gray orc. Now, whether or not you know the differences or where they come from or why they are what they are, you'd have to actually roll knowledge nature, but that's what you get from just the depiction before you.
And so he's translucent? He's the one that's translucent?
Him and the wolf are both glowing a blue color and are translucent.
Where's
So
the guy that they were fighting?
he's not there. The horseman that was there, Tomoe did notice it rode off, and as it did, it finally just began to vanish.
Okay.
So the entire scene was this ghostly visage of these individuals. There was some combat that had happened. Then you're not quite sure if they've said anything to each other. You probably missed that part.
Okay.
But now he is bleeding out against this tree here with the wolf protecting him.
Keth will say in Orcish again, who are you?
Who are you? He says as
anyway.
more blood is still pouring from his mouth.
They call me Keth the Pale.
What tribe?
No tribe.
No tribe.
No.
What are you doing here? Are you with them?
Yes.
You're
We
with
seek
the Broken Tooth tribe.
we seek vengeance for a fallen friend. Oh wait, is he saying with them as in
With them, yes. Not him.
as in the okay, not as in the people behind me,
No.
as in the other.
He's motioning down the path.
Okay. Then I would instead Keth would say, no tribe.
Zergar. That's who I am.
Say that again for me.
Zergar. Then what are you doing here?
I'm with a group of adventurers seeking vengeance for a fallen ally.
Vengeance. He kind of looks
Yes.
down. And his face then goes just kind of blank for a moment. Like the pain that he's in just kind of washes away. He just kind of stares. The wolf even just kind of goes emotionless.
Are you all right?
Does it look like I'm alright? Again, now the growl comes back to the wolf. As you say something, he seems to snap out of it. And when he does, everything just continues on as if that moment just never happened.
Who were you fighting? And he's going to attempt to move a little bit closer. Not like close, just a couple steps.
He holds his
slowly.
blade out a bit in a defensive way. The chief of the Broken Tooth tribe. The Greenskins.
Does Keth know about that? About those two tribes?
Roll a history check.
14.
You've heard of a tribe here in the Vast Swamp called the Broken Tooth tribe. They are a fairly big orcish tribe, in particular the raiding kind. So you know that the gray skin orcs are more civilized, and obviously the green skins are more savage.
Okay. Why? Why were you fighting?
I was fleeing.
Fleeing from what? From him?
Yes. Their tribe. I stole something from them.
What did you steal?
Their heart more blood pooling from his mouth.
Can I try to help you?
He looks down at his wound, blood still pooling from between his fingers. How can you help me? Are you a healer?
No, but we have one. And he'll turn and look at Alokian.
He looks beyond Keth and towards Alokian. In Orcish, Alokian, he says, "You can help me."
He can.
His hand
I can what?
pets his wolf, his fingers
Can-
going through the thick mane and fur there.
Can you help him?
I'll walk over and examine his wounds.
He, again, is holding his blade to his side, prepared to strike if he needs to. But he moves his hand, and you can see the wound that's sort of in the lower part of his rib cage, stomach. Go ahead and roll a medicine check.
21.
It looks like there is a mortal wound that is there, if it's not dealt with. But unfortunately, because he's insubstantial, you're not quite sure how you can help him from dying. Okay.
Do you speak the common tongue?
I do speak the common tongue, yes.
Not sure that you are aware.
He's looking around. Adventurers in the swamp. Why?
Just passing through.
Tribes are warring here. I don't... Why you would come to a place like this. It's very dangerous.
Keth will kind of step up next to him again. A little, getting closer this time, kind of up next to Lokian.
Right.
Again, vengeance for a fallen ally.
Vengeance, he says. And again, his face kind of goes blank. The
Can I
wolf-
attempt to put...
What?
Good. Oh, sorry. I was going to say, can I attempt to put my hand on his wound?
You reach out and push your hand to where his wound is. Your hand begins to push into his form, and it's extremely cold and almost too cold to the touch to even keep your hand there. Feel just this negative energy emanating from him as it begins to try to steal your life force as you touch him. Do you keep your
Gonna
hand
go
there?
ahead and stop.
Yep.
No.
Okay.
No.
Do I know who won this war between these two tribes? Assuming it happened in the past.
You remember hearing or learning about, you're not sure where these memories are coming from, but just some of these memories are like flashing of maybe a story that you've heard or something, that a lot of the vast swamp at one time, probably a few hundred years ago, had a number of different warring factions of lizard men, orcs and goblins and all sorts of creatures that called this place home. You know, the Broken Tooth tribe were one of those tribes that actually came out on top.
Okay. I will say, brother. Kind of waking him back up, hopefully.
As you do, he looks in your direction, and his eyes widen as he turns to look to the right. And he pulls his blade and holds it up in that direction. All of you hear the sound of coming from down the trail to the south. No sight of anything yet.
As he's kind of freaking out, I will quickly say to him,
The wolf growls and then leaps. Its maw open as it tries to bite and snap at something. And coming from that direction, just apparating from nothing, a bright light flashes and the horseman's form reappears. The spear coming down towards the orc's form that's on the ground. You see on the back of a heavy war horse that's covered in leather barding with spikes and horns all across its forehead. Another orc, pig-faced, very large and thick. It has a number of pieces of leather and furs all over its body, even scales across its forearms of some sort of lizard-like creature. Was a lizard-like creature at one time. And its spear piercing into the ghostly form of the orc in front of you. Spear snaps as the rider passes, and the orc holds the spear, pulls it out, blood gushing from a wound. He fights for breath as he tries to stand again, throws the remnant of the spear down the path towards the rider as the rider vanishes once again.
After he kind of settles, I'll say quickly, knowing he probably does not have much time left. Brother, my healer cannot help you. But you fought honorably.
Takes a breath and looks at you.
You gave your life for your tribe, for your people. You are honored for that.
His line must die, he says as he's fighting for a breath. His blood is even more coming from the wound in his mouth. He reaches down behind him and holds out his hand. Kill. Vengeance. Kill. Swear it.
I swear.
And he holds out his palm toward you, and you see something within his hand, his palm, some sort of roundish colored, like jet black shape.
I will take it from him.
And he drops it into your hand. And there's a crudely carved shape of a heart that falls from his hand and into yours, but it's a jet black colored gem that's extremely shiny. As soon as you touch it, there's a coldness that emanates from it.
Yeah.
They can't win. They'll kill everyone.
I'll do my best to stop them. I swear it.
His form begins to glow brighter as he slumps over and forms that circular spirit. His entire body becomes a sphere of light again. The wolf sits there, watching you as the light begins to drift down the path. back into the swamp.
Zeth will kind of look at the stone and then look at the wolf and say in Orcish, vengeance.
The wolf lets out a low growl. Fur in the back of his head, spine stands. Its form then also turns into a small sphere of light. But instead of drifting away, it drifts towards your hand and goes into the small, heart-shaped, jet black gem within your hand.
Zeth will kind of just sit there quietly for a little while, looking at the stone and thinking.
All right.
Well, that is not what I expected. I'll kind of look towards Lokian.
He is gone to his god now.
I fear tomorrow night he will relive this same event.
Roll a knowledge religion, Lokian.
17.
Nice.
You know that undead spirits that are stuck here like that, their spirits have not passed on. So he's actually not with his god yet. He's stuck here to suffer the same fate over and over. Whether it's nightly, weekly, monthly, you're not sure, but usually it's on repeat.
What I said remains.
Okay.
For Keth's sake, you know.
Okay.
All right. We best head back to camp.
And the
Guess
group
we'll
of
see.
you head back towards the mound where you set up for camp. So, the group of you head back to your encampment on the mound. That's a possible lair to something much larger than any of you. After dealing with whatever spirit that was there that moment. Okay. You all regroup and just gather. Zan probably still asleep. Though any of you, well, especially Alokian, you can tell that he is still sweating a bit and tossing and turning as you do walk by still. Maybe because of the group of you shifting about and whatnot. Has stirred his sleep a little bit, but he still stays asleep. But all of you return to your camp. What do you do?
Finish up my my meditation time.
Okay.
And then
Anyone
I'll
I
else?
take the
will,
chapter.
I'd like to have a private conversation with Keth.
Okay.
Was he someone that you knew?
No. No.
I only ask because you were talking to him as if he was a family member or someone that you cared for.
I just kind of felt a connection I guess you could say.
It was my understanding that orcs didn't have much feelings.
That's what people assume. And that might be how we act.
Is it
We're
wrong
always-
to assume such?
Probably depends on the orc.
And what of you?
Perhaps you'll see. I'll kind of smile.
Perhaps. Forgive my prying, but we lost someone very close to us, and it's hard to accept someone from the outside, especially during these trying times. I just
Understand.
wish to get to know you better, understand you, maybe your purpose or your resolve.
I don't really have much purpose. I feel like I'm looking for a sign. Guidance.
Perhaps we are the sign.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
But even if we aren't, don't try to force it. Do you have any beliefs? Do you believe in a god?
I don't think so.
Do you believe that there is something after this, after our mortal shells?
I'm sure there is.
So then you do have beliefs.
Perhaps. Not really sure.
Let me ask you something else. What you fight for? Do you fight for family? Loved ones? Do you fight for yourself?
Feel like my main purpose so far has been help the little guy.
To end their suffering?
No. To make the big guys who are hurting the little guys suffer. Make them feel that pain that they might be putting them through.
And this kind of like clicks in a Lokian's head. Like, oh, this guy might have it figured out. Have you ever heard of Ilmater?
I haven't.
It seems that what you believe and his teachings, something I've studied for my whole life, they might align a lot more than you think.
Perhaps.
He too wishes to end suffering for the little ones. And more recently, I'm starting to think perhaps the best way for that to happen is to make the big guy suffer.
Well, then we'll probably get along.
Yes. Well, for tonight, I'll stay up with you. We'll chat a bit more about Ilmater.
I just want to be Corvin so bad. All right.
So, yeah, Alokian will stay up for the rest of Keth's watch and tell him more about Ilmater's teachings, and all the things that I learned about Ilmater, as much as I can cram into a small session, you know.
Okay.
I rolled a 14 on deception to hide the boredom. Um,
Love it.
Well, my passive is 15, so I know and I don't care.
yeah, I just thought I might let you know.
Even with the boredom of what a Lokian does share, there's probably a few things in there that Keth can probably relate to, especially in more recent times.
Yeah, Alokian really, I think, really needed this too to kind of
Mhm.
try and work through his own.
And
doubts.
Keth would try his hardest to seem interested in everything too. Like he's not trying to, he's not like Corbin. He's not
He's not
trying to be a
Corbin.
jerk. Yeah, he's not being sarcastic. He's listening. He's kind of trying to be an active listener, but the boredom does set in after a while. But yeah, like he's trying to listen, trying to indulge you, basically.
Anyone else do anything other than stay in a trance and sleep while the lesson is going on? Well, that time goes uneventfully. No other lights on the horizon approach. No creatures lurk in the swamp to try to eat you in your slumbers. So, we can fast forward through the rest of the night till the next morning, if we wish.
Keth will, once he finally gets to go to bed, he will take some time kind of looking at that stone.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe feel if he can make a connection with it or anything. Figure out what it is.
Funny that you say that. As Keth sits there, the stone in his hand, he stares into the heart-shaped form within his palms, and after a while, feels as though it draws him in. That there is some sort of connection there. You feel your own words, your promise to uphold vengeance deep within inside that stone. And you feel, after a while, you even feel as though there's something within the stone that you can call forth.
Okay.
You don't get any sense of what it is, but it's cold. There's almost haunting. But you can feel as though Beth can feel as though he can just call it forth out of the stone he needs.
Okay. He will drift off to sleep. I assume he just has no sleeping bag or anything. He just like lays.
He just
on the
lays in the
rock.
grass.
Yeah.
But the rest of the night goes uneventfully, and the sun rises again. Or begins to.
Once my trance was done, just before, like for the 4 hours interim, I'm gonna learn the Burning Hand spell and copy that into my my spell book.
Okay.
But I also wanted to identify the wand that I found recently.
Okay.
And
you're going to ritually cast it.
Ritual cast for that. Yep.
All right. After you studied that wand, I thought you might have already done this, but if not, that's fine. It is a wand of disguise, which has 11 charges left.
Okay.
Doesn't take you too long to identify it.
Alrighty. Cool. And yeah, I'll just spend the rest of the time copying the other spell into my spell book.
Sounds good. All right. You all finally awake. Zan does seem groggy. He does wake up as well with the sun, but he still seems tired. He gathers his things. He goes ahead and eats a few bits of rations. Again, still fighting to keep it down as he does. But nonetheless gets his horse prepared to continue on. No one else wants to do anything in particular as you gather that morning. Kath, you can go ahead and once again try to follow the trail.
Okie dokie.
Zan will help you, so you can roll at advantage.
18 survival.
Okay. You go back to where you carved the arrow into the tree and continue following the path. Again, the prints are still there, the tracks are still there, but it is getting more difficult the longer the time passes. The water is kind of filling in, the mud is slowly seeping into the hoof prints and the footprints on the ground. But you're pretty sure they're going to stay, so far they've stayed on this main game trail, because you do see other signs of probably deer and other creatures that have used this path to traverse the swamps. But you continue on throughout the day. If nothing else, we'll continue on because the rest of the day will go uneventfully until the next evening. After lunchtime, sometime, going down this winding path again, the swamps are getting more difficult. It's getting wetter, muddier, and a lot of the vegetation seems to be decaying even more, dying. The trees are large, twisting, and the vines are almost smothering a lot of them. You see signs of like just large swaths of the grass that was there at one time, just covered in a lot of moss and decay. As you get deeper and deeper into the swamp, it looks like the more that rot and decay has taken over. That stench grows as you smell the mud even more. But towards probably 3 or 4 in the evening, probably maybe 5 o'clock, the sun is above the horizon still. Let's see, who's keeping an eye out? I guess, do you have Tomoe out? Everyone can roll perception checks. That's keeping an eye out.
Right.
21 for me, 19 for Tomoe.
Okay.
5.
All right, Belkin's distracted counting gold or something. It's kind of boring just
12.
walking along the path. 12, okay. So Tomoe and Kaz. Tomoe gives you a feeling that there's something ahead. Kaz, you notice on the horizon above the trees, probably still, a few hundred feet in the northern direction that you're heading, you see the signs of wispy smoke coming from the viney forest and swamp ahead.
Like a campfire?
Probably a campfire or something, yeah.
I'll notify the others. There is campfire ahead. Perhaps those we hunt. We should approach quietly.
Okay.
All right.
And as he points it out, you all do notice the same. There is some sort of smoke on the horizon ahead. If you had to guess, maybe half a mile or so. And it looks like it's in the direction of the path that you're going on. do you continue? All right.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming trying to be as quiet as possible, so we can go ahead and
Mhm.
roll stealth checks if we wish.
21.
20.
17.
14.
Okay. You all do fairly well as you try to stay quiet as you head that way, continuing down the path. Kath, you're still keeping an eye out on the tracks to make sure they're going in that direction. They wind around through the forest, the swamp that's there, and indeed do head in that direction. About a 20 minutes, half an hour trek. The smoke is still getting closer and closer as you travel through the swamp. And through the trees, you can see the ground is actually rising slightly out of the swamp. There's still pools of water, vines and thick foliage, heavy trees that are twisted and gnarled. They're growing thicker as the ground is rising out of the water. It's still muddy, still difficult to move around and traverse, but there is a bit of a rise in sea level here. Another 10 or 15 minutes, and you finally see through the trees the thickness of the vines that are hanging, the moss that's there. What looks like a rather large hut made of stone, thick grass and thatch and vines covering the top of it. This circular building, smoke pluming from the center where there's a hole in the top of this hut. You see a few broken wooden crates and barrels off to the side of the hut, as well as quite a few heavy pools of water, thick with the black, inky water of the vast swamp in and out the area. You hear the sound of rushing or a stream not too far that's going between the pools and off into the rest of the vast swamp. You see outside of the hut, looks like a big, thick, heavy oak table that's made out of just a log roughly hewn and flipped on either side of it. You can see, roll perception checks from this distance, I guess. You're still about 100 feet away from... But this game trail does indeed go on the back side of past this building structure.
19.
7.
5 again.
All right.
I'm doing
13.
something.
13, okay. Alokian, as you approach this building, in Kaz, you see everything I've described so far. And on the table, you can see a number of tools that are there. Can't really make out what they're for. Maybe a blade, a hatchet, or something that's, or a cleaver that's stuck into the wood that's there. You see crimson color kind of across the top of that thick, heavy table. Perhaps they were butchering something there. You're not quite sure. You don't see any remnants or signs of animal or feathers or skins or anything like that. But Alokian, you do notice on past the hut a bit, you see a few frames, square frames with string or vines or something that's tied to it. And one in particular has what looks like a hide that's strung up on the frame. But there's something disturbing about it as you look closely and try to pay attention to the details that are there. Lokian, you notice that it's a dark tan or pinkish colored hide, and with what looks like a skinned face dangling, a thick, heavy beard still attached to the skin of this stretched hide. It was probably humanoid at one time.
Gross.
It looks fairly fresh.
Whatever it is has the taste for long pig, eh?
More like someone you might have known.
Hmm.
And it looks recent.
The beard is like a dark brown, maybe black, with hints of gray in it.
Would I recognize whoever it is?
You don't recognize the person in particular. I guess with your perception check, you can tell that it looks like probably a dwarf. Whatever it was at one time.
Was a dwarf. Met an unfortunate end.
It is unfortunate indeed.
And Loki, you hear shuffling coming from within the stone hut.
Something stirs inside.
Belkin, shall we check it out?
Right.
All right. And we'll sneak in.
Okay. Go ahead and make me stealth checks again as you approach this encampment.
24.
15.
Okay.
Belkin, where did you go?
I use Kaz as cover. Or
All right.
concealment.
So the group of you begin to head that way. Well, not the group of you, but the two of you begin to head that way. Kaz and Belkin. You get closer. Where do you kind of want to come from or approach this scene here?
Kind of want to stay wherever there's more like shade or shadow and approach either this from the side or the rear of the hut if there wherever there's a window.
Okay.
Like an open.
You don't see any windows in the hut, and you don't see any doorways on this side of it, at least. So approaching from your direction would be fine, and you can go through some of the brush that's there to try to stay as obscured as possible.
Okay.
And there's a number of shadows here because there's large vine-covered trees, twisted and gnarled, in and out this area. So, but if you just want to approach from this direction, that's fine. The two of you approach, and you see more of the details that's there. The blood that's across the table is also filling the ground and covering the forest floor or the swamp floor that's there nearby. But you also see a pile of innards that's actually set into a basket that's on the other side of that butcher table. Then you see what looks like a leg, an arm, a chopped in half rib cage that's kind of dangling on the other side of another tree, just hanging there from meat hooks. You get closer to the hut, and it's It's also covered in vines and moss. The stone of the hut is fairly dark as well. Probably picked from the area nearby or something like that. It's fairly rough build, fairly old as well. Still smoke pluming from the inside of the hut. Hear the clanging of glass inside for a moment. Shuffling about from heavy footfalls. The building itself, on the sides of it, is probably about 10 feet tall. At the center where everything, all the thatch meets, probably goes up to about 12 total. And the hut itself, maybe 25 feet in diameter. It's fairly big. And as you do approach, you can tell on around the back where the path goes, you do see an opening, a crack that's probably a doorway or something, but there's no door or anything. It's just open.
And that seems to be the only entrance or exit.
From what you can tell so far. If you want to circle around, you can try to do that to see if there's any others. Or even circle around to look inside, you can.
I don't want to peek inside. I may leave that for Belkin.
Yeah, I imagine you guys are probably about 60 feet away as well. Right now.
Yeah, I will signal Belkin to move forward.
Okay.
Okay, I do.
Belkin, you slowly approach further. Where would you like to go? You trying to look inside? Look at anything particular? How close do you want to get?
How far away am I from the inside?
You're currently about 60 feet from where all the encampment is, the butcher block, as well as the hut itself. On the right side, from you looking at it, there you can tell there's a doorway or something around this circular structure. You're not quite sure about the other side, but so far you've not seen any other windows or anything like that.
I would like to. There's only one doorway to the
That you
hut.
can tell so far.
I'll do one circle around to see if there's any.
Okay, you want to do a wide circle around it?
Yeah.
Okay. You begin to go around the hut, staying as obscured as possible in the brush, the vines, and the trees. You can tell that there is an open doorway. There is no door there on the right side, but you can tell it also goes all the way through, and there's another doorway on the other side that goes towards where the butcher block is, as well as those frames where that skinned dwarf is hung currently. Inside, you see a large cast iron cauldron that's bubbling and boiling, smoke pluming from beneath it as a fire is lit. Hovering over that, stirring the pot, is a dusky purple-skinned humanoid that stands probably about 8 feet tall, though it's slightly hunched over, its shoulders pushed forward, has elongated arms, black claws ending each finger, jet black hair that's just kind of pluming and framing its face and body. It currently has on what looks like probably at one time was a beautiful white dress, but it's stained in a multitude of dark colors, torn and tattered. It has a heavy satchel kind of hung from a belt that's fairly tight above a bulbous belly that's kind of protruding out from the dress. It has bare feet as it shifts about. grabbing something from a shelf behind her and crushing it in her hand, sprinkling it into the cauldron. That's what you see as you begin the circle. You also see inside there's a pile of blankets, pillows in one side as you circle. Then you see on the other wall there's a smaller bed that's broken and sunken into the ground. Inside the hut is kind of bowl shaped in, so a lot of the mud is actually piled up on the side, so there's more room inside of that hut than what it appears to be from the outside.
Did I lose sight of Kaz? Am I
Roll a perception check.
okay? 12.
Yeah, you don't see Kaz. You kind of have an idea where you left him, but you don't see him. And as you do circle, there's another frame on the back side of the hut that you couldn't see from the side you were on, that has another humanoid skin, but is now pale and dark in color. Looks like it's much older than the fresher one.
The cloaked figure that left the hideout. Do I feel like that was a dwarf? I feel like it was short enough to be a dwarf.
So it had a mask on.
Mhm.
So for everybody else, because I don't think Keth. Oh no, you did see. Okay, yeah. It had a mask on, but it did not have a beard at all.
Okay.
And it was taller than a dwarf for sure.
Yeah, the height was the biggest thing, I think.
Yep.
Okay.
How tall is the hut?
Well, from the outside, it looks like it goes probably about 10 feet tall, and then 12 to the center. But you can tell in the inside there's more space there because there's a bowl shape inside where the dirt is. And there's a small stone circular hearth inside that this fairly large cauldron's on top that's bubbling and boiling.
Is the humanoid inside the hut the only one that I've seen that is like not dead, not skinned?
Yeah, that's the only. So there's 3 in total. One inside. It's fairly large
Yep.
and tall, and then there's the other 2, one old and one new. Looks like she finishes stirring, puts the ladle down next to the hearth, then begins to step outside, opposite of the opposite door than what you're currently at. Everyone else can see this figure step out. It walks over towards the butcher table, takes the cleaver and a knife from the table itself, and then begins to walk on the back side, on the opposite side of the structure. Belkin, you can see her moving over to the older hide and begins to cut it free.
Is she outside the hut now?
Yes.
Is there any places inside the hut that could I could hide behind or under? Or besides the cauldron?
Besides the cauldron. From what you can tell, maybe you can jump into the pile of blankets and pillows. There may be more inside, but you can't really tell from where you currently are.
Alright, I will stealth into the hut or
Okay.
attempt to.
All right. You walk towards the opening of the hut, and she's not too far away. You hear her as she's breathing heavily on the other side, cutting the humanoid hide free. She takes her not very long, but you get to the side of the hut against the cold stone and look inside. You see there's also a cabinet. There's a number of shelves with jars and bowls, different herbs and plants drying out, hanging from the ceiling. You do also see a few skulls that are in there. One in particular has a red gem in one eye, probably a ruby or something, and another one has two jet black gems that's just kind of staring out off of a shelf. As you do approach and step inside, the jet black gems light, green light kind of emanating from those gems.
Like
And
they light up
yes,
like a Halloween decoration.
yes.
Fantastic.
But do you want to continue inside? You can see there's no tables or chairs. There's two beds and then a large pile of blankets and pillows, but it's full of dirt and refuse and branches and leaves. The two beds look broken, dilapidated, but still probably used. They also look fairly dirty, but not as dirty as the pile of blankets.
We also have line of sight on the.
No, she's on the wall to the right of you. So you're going into a doorway and she's on the right side around the building. Do you go inside?
No, I'm gonna circle around the hut, all the way around it.
To the other side of her?
Yeah.
Okay. You get back onto the other side. Everyone that's out there can roll perception checks.
Eight.
I didn't.
7.
What was that, Joe?
I'm muted. 12.
All right. You don't notice anything change beyond the humanoid creature going to the other side of the hut. So you get to the opposite side of her, Belkin. What do you do?
I'm just gonna see what she does.
Okay.
I'll see my crossbow.
Yep. After a few moments, she takes the hide and then brings it back inside, lays it on what looks like a old desk or something. See a number of pieces wound up twine and like a bone needle. It's laid out, a few of them. After she lays out the humanoid hide, it looks like it's cured and prepared for whatever she's about to do now that she's taken it off of the frame. She steps back outside and grabs the basket of innards and begins to walk towards one of the larger pools. After she gets to the water's edge, everyone can see there's a ripple across the water. As she begins to put her clawed fingers into the basket and tossing the innards into the water, rising out of the water slightly as the innards lands on a mass of vines and plant matter, lifts out of the water slightly, the innards landing on this mass and just kind of sinking into the form. on top, there's two circular, probably socketed holes where maybe eyes would be. A maw of what looks like sharpened, like spines or wood, where teeth or a mouth would be. But this mass of vines and plant matter just begins to absorb all of the innards she throws into the water.
Ew.
Keth will kind of lean over to Alokian and whisper, "This is not who we're looking for, is it?"
No.
Keth will look around and see if he can find the tracks.
The tracks look like they
Mhm.
go maybe like 10 feet or so past the hut.
And move beyond or towards.
Well, from where you are, you're probably about 80 feet or so from the hut itself. So the tracks go towards the hut. So if someone was walking past on a set of horses, if this creature was here, they'd probably definitely see it.
Who is near me right now? Is it just Keth or?
It's Keth and the horses and Zan.
And we have line of sight on her.
Yep.
Doing what she's doing. And then Belkin is near the house.
Yeah, you're not quite sure where Belkin is, but he is by the house, yes, currently.
Okay. And Cos went with him.
Yeah, Kaz is probably 60 feet or so away from the structure. The group of you probably actually see Belkin as he breaks the cover that he had circling the house on the side closest to you. And she's on the opposite side near now one of the larger ponds. And there's a large form that just kind of pushes out of the water. Just kind of surfaces as she's tossing the innards and gore and bit of flesh, an arm onto.
Keth. Mind the horses, would you?
All right.
And I will pop up and start walking towards her.
Okay.
Always a good idea.
Excuse me. I seem to have lost my way. Is there any chance you could perhaps give me direction?
How close do you get before you start talking? Because she's probably like 100 feet, maybe 120 feet away from you.
Maybe like 50?
Okay. So about
within earshot?
Yeah, get about halfway. At that point, you're probably in the encampment. You do see a large stone circle that's inside the encampment with a number of lines drawn in it, some strange markings, sticks and branches laid out in a strange pattern.
I avoid stepping in those as much as possible.
But her heavy breathing kind of comes forth. She cocks her head slightly as she hears your words and finishes tossing the bloodied innards into the basket. The basket kind of just slumps to her side as she slowly turns. Lost your way, yes?
Yes. What do you have there? Goldfish in a pond?
Blood dripping from her right hand as she begins to walk back towards the encampment. Not directly toward you, but back towards the encampment. Where are you trying to go?
Well, yes, we were actually, I was, trying to follow, some kobolds. They've done wrong by me.
She sets the basket next to the bloody butcher table and wipes her hand on her dress and turns towards you as she's rubbing her kind of swollen stomach. Turns back toward you. Yes, they told me you were coming.
Oh, did they? Wonderful. So you already knew. So perhaps you can guide me in the right direction. And by the way, what are you doing? I noticed you had some hides. Perhaps you have leather for sale?
Is there a way that Keth could start moving a little closer,
Sure.
but not necessarily giving up cover? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, that's fine. There's enough trees and shrubs and vines and all that sort of thing for. I mean, you can probably get as close as Kaz is, probably about 60 or so feet, 40 feet, from the camp.
Okay.
Or hut
I
there.
want to get as close as I can. Slowly, I'll kind of leave the horses with Zan and stay here, and I'm gonna move up.
It's just like, okay. Yes, they paid me, or will pay me to kill you.
Oh, the kobolds, that is.
The cult, yeah. She
The
says,
cult. Right, and how much were they paying you?
She looks directly at you and squints slightly. What do you mean, how much?
Oh, apologies. What was the payment that they agreed upon?
She points towards the dwarf hide. 3 more.
Three more dwarves.
Souls.
3 soul. Oh, right. They pay you with souls, of course. How foolish of me. My name is Alokian. What is your name?
1 second. Let me get my paperwork out.
Sheila, that's her name.
No, I'm getting definite Brenda vibes right now.
Nancy, good old Nancy.
There's only a she.
I was thinking more like an Agatha.
Is
You-
Agatha on?
You have come.
Definitely a Hagatha.
You've come and met the coven of the Circle of the Vast. I am Maud.
Push this more.
Odd.
How are you, Maud?
Well, it is very lovely to meet you, Maud. Could I possibly convince you not to kill me?
What do you have to trade?
Well, not
As she says that, she looks over to where Belkin's hiding.
Well, certainly not souls. Unfortunately, I am out of those to spare. But we do have coin. We do have certain knickknacks, and I have a whole set of plate armor I'm not using. That could surely be useful to you somehow. Many things for trade. In sparing our lives. But not so much souls. Is that kind of like a solid deal? Do you have to have souls, or will you trade in coin and goods?
You see the satchel at her side. It's got that heavy stitch to it, and as you pay attention, it shifts and writhes slightly. It's hanging from her belt. And it definitely looks like it's made from the same material that she's currently tanning.
Skin, great.
Mundane things do not please us.
Okay.
Unfortunately, Mother's not here to make a different deal. As she's taken Haley
Of course.
to
So you're
birth her
alone, then?
child.
Oh. A child. Well, congratulations. That makes you what, an aunt?
Yes, she looks down. It's almost time for me as well.
Oh, for you to give birth.
Yeah.
Well, double congratulations. What are you having?
Don't say dinner.
What do you mean?
The-
What am I having?
The child, is it a boy or a girl? Or something in between?
She like glares daggers at you when you say boy or girl.
Or perhaps
Do you not? You have
Do
no
I not-
idea, do you?
None whatsoever. Perhaps you could enlighten me.
Her tongue kind of licks her lips, and you see sharp teeth on the inside. Black, darkened, stained teeth. Her eyes kind of go milky white for a moment as you feel some sort of magic pulse from them as she's staring at you. Oh. Tell me, how long has the doubt setting in?
Doubt of what? I'm sorry.
She steps closer. In what you believe. Sways like a tree in the wind. I bet you would do a great thing. You want to make a deal. Her bloody hands kind of just pressed together and rubbing back and forth.
I'm having flashbacks.
Do not marry this bitch. Don't do it.
Oh yeah.
Come on.
Then you can do something for me.
A deal. In exchange for not attempting to kill us, that is.
Yes, for not killing you.
Oh, well.
They've not brought me the souls yet. Maybe perhaps you'll do it first. And much quicker.
Bring you the souls, that is.
Yes.
Well, it's a bit unorthodox. I can't say that I've ever paid somebody with souls before. What's the time frame that we're looking at here? Like, how long do I have to go get the souls and come back?
I have all the time in the world.
Perfect. Me too. Well then, we could all leave then and come back with the souls later.
Four moons.
4 moons. Right. And just out of curiosity, if I wasn't to return in 4 moons, what exactly would happen?
Well, I would take yours, of course.
Oh. Most unfortunate. I don't want that. Well then.
Well, I will take yours regardless if you don't.
Right, yes, because you made the deal with the couples, of course. Well, then might I say that we will leave now and come back with, was it 3 souls? So we will go procure those 3 souls and bring them back to you within 4 moons.
You don't understand.
I don't.
Well, bring your friends. And she begins to walk into the hut.
Three of my friends, you said?
Bring your friends.
Oh, bring my friends now to you. Sorry, you're being quite unclear.
Yes.
You want us to come inside?
Yes, inside. And
Right.
you can see now where she was near the pond. That mound has done risen out of the water. There's a humanoid shape of writhing vines and vegetation and mold. It's just kind of lumbering out of the water, staring in your direction.
Okay, well, let me gather my friends and we will come inside. How about that?
Yes.
Okay, great. And I will go gather Kaz and Keth,
Okay.
and I will just kind of try and just motion for Belkin to stay where he is.
Belkin, you heard all of this, by the way. All right.
As
Kaz,
Keth is walking towards,
Are we walking
the-
into our death?
he goes like this.
most assuredly not. It's one of her and multiple of us. She just wants to strike a bargain. A bargain in which we do not have to fight her and possibly be wounded or exhausted and you know, all that. In exchange, she wants some souls. But here's the thing: we get to leave. So then we just leave, and we don't bring back the souls. You get what I'm saying? I find it hard to believe that she will track us and find us after 4 days have passed. Let's
I'm
either
gonna be
fight her
honest,
now, or fight her possibly later. Probably not.
I feel like this thing shouldn't be alive any longer.
Are you
I am
saying
of the
her?
mind to.
If anybody
Her?
wants, they can roll a knowledge arcana check.
Not proficient in that. I'm not gonna do it.
That's a 22.
Okay. You've recognized possibly what this creature is. It's definitely a hag. Probably a purple hag, if you had to guess. Normally they are in covens of 3. And as Alokian's talking about souls and this and that, these creatures deal in souls, specifically in Hades. They take what they can from either the mortal or from the prime material plane or other planes and deal with other creatures that are out there in souls. Most of the time, though, they deal in evil souls because those souls are what demons and devils use to create other demons and devils for their eternal war. These are basically the middlemen, and you've heard rumors in some of your studies with that role that they actually have a whole like city or conclave that hags deal in inside of Hades, and all these extraplanar outsiders will come and purchase souls, do deals for souls. And usually their contracts are binding in some way, one or other. And if they're not met, there's usually curse or death that's soon to come
Yeah, Joey.
afterwards.
Yeah.
I know.
Well,
Loki
Lokian doesn't know,
Well, Logan.
but Kaz knows now.
So the point remains: we can make this deal with her now and just not make good on it. What is she going to do? We'll be 4 days out. We'll be gone. Or we fight her now. It's makes no difference to me. She's clearly deranged, and she's having some kind of demon baby, and she's feeding a swamp monster. I'm good either way. I just wanted to make sure that you guys were behind on this.
Sure that we could outrun her, but I'm just saying. And he kind of looks towards the dwarf's body. I feel like this thing needs dealt with.
Well then, Kaz, what is your vote?
We are to fight this thing. It be quite dangerous. We
Yes.
are to bargain with it, and it wishes for souls. perhaps we bring it the souls of that whom which we chase.
Oh, never thought of that. Right. So if we bring them the souls, how do you capture a soul?
Well, we bring those fools back alive, and
Oh,
we only request that she eat them alive.
okay. I like that plan. Keth, we just bring her back, the people that we're chasing. And surely whatever she does with their souls will be a much far worse fate than what we could deliver.
I still don't like leaving her alive. I mean, and again, he looks towards the dwarf. That was a dwarf once. A man
Yes.
with a life and a family.
Yes, but perhaps in life he was not such a great man. We do not know.
Perhaps
And I
he was
don't
the
think it's
best
our
man.
place to. Perhaps, but who are we to place judgment upon her? This is what she does.
Do you think that man suffered? Being skinned?
Perhaps. And perhaps he deserved it.
Perhaps he didn't.
That is a possibility.
It's obvious that this creature is not a good creature. She's not killing evil people. She's killing whoever
Well,
she can get her hands on.
From
Kaz.
my
Yep.
understanding, they do prefer the souls of that which are evil.
Well, there you have it. That dwarf was probably an asshole.
She was going to kill us.
Certainly
the
likely.
same. Are you evil?
Depends on who you ask. To the kobolds, yes.
I am only evil to the rich.
I do not think she should live.
I concur. And perhaps when we have successfully completed our mission of rooting out these cultists and laying waste to them, we can come back and address this situation appropriately. I do not, however, believe that if we are to engage, that we will have a favorable outcome.
Another thing to consider, we don't know when her mother and sister will be back, and with whatever spawn she's spat out.
Aye.
And also there is the condition of the giant swamp monster just outside of here. These are all things to consider. I think it might be best to strike a bargain now
I
and
would
deal with
concur.
it later.
I have fallen one too many times in battle of late, and I do not wish to fall today.
Would that be agreeable, Keth? We can return later and deal with this. But for now, we must strike a bargain.
Do as you wish.
I will
No, I-
recall its location, Keth.
All right.
Now then,
Thank you.
strike a deal.
So, I will take Keth.
Mhm.
I will take Keth and Kaz with me to inside.
Okay. Zan comes along,
Okay.
leading the horses.
She better not want to eat those horses. Gonna be
Belkin, you see
fight-
the group of them approaching the hut. Do you do anything else other than hide?
I'll go to the. I'll sneak my way to the other door or before they come one way, I'll go the other way.
Yep. Sounds fine. Kaz ties up his horse to a nearby tree near the hut. So we plan to make a deal with this creature.
We're going to cut a deal. She wants 3 souls. We are in search of souls. We bring them back alive. And the deal is done. What we do after that, well, I think we're in agreement on all that. We can fill you in later.
Okay. He follows you. The group of
So we head
you
inside.
go to the hut. Assuming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll lead.
She's already inside. At her desk, currently stitching together the satchel or a pouch with skin from that she just took from outside. This one too has a face. Anyone, I guess a Lokian, probably you can recognize it as a human. There's still hair on top of the head. It's just kind of short. You see eyebrows. Where the eyes would be, they're cut out, as well as the mouth. And she uses it and as the top of a flap, a bag, as she's finishing up her craft. She kind of looks towards the doorway as the group of you approach. And we've decided to do the task.
Yes. We have decided as a group that the ones that initially hired you for the job, the ones that we are currently following and hunting, those will be the souls that we pay you with.
No.
Well, why not?
I have those. I have souls already prepared for harvest.
So what kind of souls are you looking for?
There's 3 men that need to die.
You have specific souls you're looking for.
Yes.
Okay, and these men are...
They're in Monk's Blade.
Is that close by, or...
It is a town not too far from here. Southwest of where we currently are. But you don't need to worry about the travel. That will be short.
Oh. Okay. My friend here informed me that generally you only deal with souls of those who are perhaps not so great people. Is that the case?
Her eyes kind of gloss over Milky again as she looks at the group of you. Any of you guys evil?
No.
Then finally it goes away. We take the vial, yes, as their souls are strong for what we need, for those we trade with. The more vile, the better. The stronger.
no.
I am certainly not against ending the lives of vile beings.
These men you seek are vile men.
Well, of course.
Do you need them to be brought back to you alive?
She looks down at the bag that she's finishing up. No, you'll take this with you. Capture their souls.
Might we have just a moment? Sorry.
Could we perhaps just bring them back alive? Bound, even unconscious. And you could do the soul retrieval part.
This has to be done by you.
And I'll just kind of turn Keth and Kaz around
Okay.
in like a huddle. I don't mind taking the souls from these people if they truly are vile men. Then ending the suffering of others that these men are undoubtedly doing is fine by me. The question is, are you two willing to do this? And I would ask Belkin, but he's not here, of course. But I feel like he just kind of goes along with whatever we're doing. So it's up to you guys. I know Keth, you're new. But it seems like Kaz would be okay with this. Am I correct in thinking that, Kaz? I could do the soul stealing. You would just have to do the slaying.
Oh, that much I am totally fine with, and yes.
Right.
If these
And
men truly are vile, and
from what you've said and what she said, they are.
if the removal of their being could do this nearby town good, we would be doing a disservice to let them live.
Precisely. Keth, are you in on that? Does that sound like something that you are okay with? I mean, you were just saying how you don't like this lady to live because she does evil things. These are vile, evil men that we must dispatch.
Do you know you can trust her then?
No, absolutely not.
Not at all.
Hmm.
But from what Kaza said about these beings, a deal is a deal.
Hmm.
So, do you think at all that evil is relative? What's her view of evil compared to ours?
But that I cannot say. I'm not here to. I don't know. I'm not here to make heads or tails of other people's beliefs at this moment, which she defines as vile, seems to align with what we define as vile.
The
Perhaps
enemy
that's
of
all it
mine
is.
enemy is my friend, if even
Well,
for a moment.
Right, that would make her our friend. So, just for a moment, she might be our
Or-
friend. Well,
Would that make the men our friend?
I don't know, but they need to die for us to get out of this pickle. And I think we can probably assess the situation as we come upon it, right? If these are, let's say, men that are, I don't know, feeding orphans when we arrive, perhaps they're not
But
so bad, but
that-
I don't.
At that point, you've made a deal with her already.
Yes, and then we just come back and dispatch her. I don't know what to tell you. You seem very on and off and hot and cold about this. If you're not willing, that's fine. You can stay back with the horses while we deal with it.
I will leave it up to you, but I would like to see what these men are doing before we murder them.
Okay, great. You can come along. If you don't like what you see, just, grab a beer while we
If they
take care
do
of it.
turn out to be well-intentioned men, I will not take their lives.
Fine. I agree. I would not either. I'm not here for dispatching of good men. I have never been about that, and you know it.
For sure.
Right now, I'm just trying to get all of our hides out of here. Without conflict, or minimal conflict. Not with this being. There's too many unknowns with her. especially given that she's about to give birth to some kind of thing. Her sister's in the woods out there giving birth to something, and her mom's doing God knows what. And there is a swamp creature. You see the pickle that we're in, correct?
Yes.
Seems like the easiest way out of this is to take her deal, dispatch of these probably vile men, hopefully vile men. Bring her the souls, all right? I'll take her face bag and capture the souls.
All right.
We come back. we give her the bag.
Sorry, guys.
I'll
And we
take her
move
face
on.
back.
None of this is pleasant for me either, mind you. I'm not enjoying any of this. I just want to get done what's done. Well, I have a feeling that if we tried to sneak by, we would have met an ill fate, giving her the advantage. As you can tell, she already had the intention of killing us for these people.
I wonder.
This-
Follow my lead a moment. And I'll turn around and I'll address the hag.
She's sitting there just stitching away the face bag.
Would I be correct in assuming that you're quite an intelligent being with knowledge of a great deal?
Is there knowledge you seek as well?
Yes, in fact. Should we complete this task, would it be too much to ask that in addition to not only sparing our lives, you provide us the location of those that we hunt, and if you're aware of their comrades? See, these people we hunt, they are incredibly vile. Worshippers of Tiamat itself.
Not just him.
Perhaps so. We wish to strike them from the face of this plane.
All of them.
Ideally,
Or
yes.
just the child of despair.
All of them. And my eyes just go cold.
Seems she has a font of knowledge.
She turns and leans forward. Then I have quite a deal for you. Yes. She smiles, a sharp, toothy grin.
Provide you with the 4 souls you ask, we...
Just one soul, then. Just one.
Which soul is it you ask?
Oh. Deliciously vile soul.
The child of despair.
No. That would be quite a feat. Been
Name your
cultivating this soul for a long time now. They're ready. You see, humans of Cormier are so moldable. Get me this one soul. I give you your information. And you go on and hunt.
Name your soul.
Councilman Cormier. Noble. She eyes you as she says it. The deals in life, trades, those in the hells and abyss, these lives that go. She looks beyond you and out the door towards Lokin. Suffer eternally, forever.
Well then,
But puts on a mask for the court he serves.
you would have us slay this councilman. Place his soul within your face bag.
Yes.
Well,
Her
don't
bag,
threaten me with a good time.
her bag at her hip writhes again.
And the same deal. The trip would be short.
From here to there, yes.
And back.
In 4 days, I can return you.
I'm all right with that if she's
you-
able to.
If you succeed.
Oh. We are nothing if not capable.
Very well.
Do you all think? And I'll nod at her and I'll take a step back and gesture to Aloki and Keth. Shall we dispatch of a councilman? Deals with the devils in hell itself.
Now that sounds like a truly vile man. Keth,
Mhm.
what say you?
Do as you wish. I will follow.
And which one of you have my blessing in this contract?
Right.
I will.
She turns and moves over to the cauldron. Takes out a wooden cup from the shelf. Takes the ladle. Scoops up whatever brownish liquid that's boiling in the pot
Mm.
and pours it into the cup. Puts her hands over it and takes one of her claws and begins to stir it. Begins to mutter words of magic. You see
Do I recognize the spell?
roll an Arcana check.
14.
You don't recognize what she's saying.
All right.
And a black plume, wispy smoke turning to green, so emanate from within. She takes out her claw, pierces her own tongue, getting a drop of blood, letting it drop from her claw and into the cup. Turns and reaches out with her elongated arm toward you. Drink and bind us.
You do realize this is rather gross. Could you at least make it taste better?
She says another word of magic. You can recognize it as she casts prestidigitation.
Thank you.
Right before he's doing, I fired a bolt in her back.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Stay in.
yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
Duncan did exactly what I wanted to do.
So, we will roll initiative next time.
Fuck. All right.
Wow.
Can't wait to all of us to roll new characters.
So,
Yep.
it's been amazing, guys. Thank you for hanging out with us tonight. Crazy things transpiring. Crazy things going on in the world of Faerun and our adventurers stumbling upon... I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. But it's going to be fun. Next time, we're going to just jump right into combat. So, thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we'll see you on Monday. Y'all have a good night.